Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on crikey. What is the date? The 7th of September 2023. So let's look at these markets. Now I'm trying to thin down the amount of coverage I do in terms of I cover a lot of things that don't really move too much. So it's going to be a slightly revised version of the update today. So looking at the major currencies and then a few extra bits, gold, oil, and a couple of equity markets, but not everything. So let's get cracking. Looking at the euro dollar. Before I look at the euro dollar though, as ever, want to just look at news events coming out today. Well, I just should mention yesterday's Bank of Canada meeting. They left interest rates untouched. We had some slightly better than expected figures coming out from the US, which helped the dollar slightly more. Anyway, where we're sitting at the moment then today, we've already seen the trade balance. We've had the Reserve Bank of Australia governor speaking. We've got the foreign currency reserves coming up for Switzerland. It'll be interesting to see if they start to manipulate, if they start manipulating, but anyway. Unemployment claims US at 130. It's the weekly figure. It doesn't have a lot of movement on it. It's what else we got? FMC. Right, now speakers wise, we need to flick across to my other Dubry here, and you can see there's a whole bundle of technical terms from my son probably. A whole bundle of speakers. We've got the ECB speakers this morning starting at 8 o'clock, and there's quite a few of them. And these speakers can and will, at this sort of stage of the markets when they're pretty flat, probably cause some volatility for sure. We've got the Bank of Canada later this afternoon. We've got the Fed speakers in the evening there. We've got Fed speakers in the afternoon. So you just got to be a bit wary of what's going on out there. To a degree, there's nothing we can do about these. They're good technical setups. We probably should just take them as normal, but it's just to be aware that these speakers are there. It's not major news releases, so things they can go with us just as well as they can go against us with speakers. So technicals then, starting off looking at the bigger picture here on the euro dollar. Well, we can see the picture is still pointing southbound here. We did run through the monthly S1 here. I'm looking at this potential down to the S2, if not just the just these prior lows here and the quarterly S1 that's sitting below. So we've got some targets sitting down there. It has consolidated where it is at the moment. Now, if we come down the time frame again, I drawn on yesterday. I put the an alert on here, but it never. Well, it all happened on a bit of news at 3 o'clock, and that was that. So yeah, a bit of a dovish statement from the Bank of Canada, plus the better US data. Dovish statements coming through from the Bank of England members. So all in all, it shot down, double bottomed, and now it's consolidating, looking like it's going to go again. Bigger picture, well, that's really on the 4 hourly. We're looking at this sort of flat wedge movement, which at some stage might break and go, but it's hanging in there at the moment, and that's a pretty much a story of the markets here in terms of the consolidation. The pound has slipped a little bit more, although even that now is over the last 12 hours or so has been consolidating. More on that now, since what time was that? Last night at 3 o'clock. So last night at all, was it? Yesterday afternoon. It's consolidated ever since, not really showing any path either way. But the way this move here has come down here, and we're getting the consolidation, we could see yet another break to the downside. But untouched daily pivot, a bit messy at the moment. Dollar yen, really the main push is to the upside. It's struggling where it is now. We did get some comments coming through from the Bank of Japan yesterday, or the government. It was more rather than the Bank of Japan. But the reality is the market's pretty much ignored it at the moment, so they might end up having to do something more significant if they're going to control their currency. But for now, it's sitting there pretty consolidated. So there is always the downside risk when they're sitting there on this, even though technically it looks fine. Okay, Aussie dollar. This is another one sitting along its bottoms here. It's done a quad bottom now, quadruple bottom. Not yet broken. Looks like it was doing it quite nicely through the Asian session, only to catch a bounce again this morning. So at the moment, looking a bit more positive. Well, it's still a short all day long. If you look at the sentiment from retail traders, they've already bought. It seems that way anyway. There's a significant holding on the long side. Some of these people will be in the money, but there's a lot of sell orders sitting below this line. If it was to start moving towards this line, we could get the people that have already bought to shift out and start running into these sell orders. That's not a command to go and sell the Aussie, but it would be nice if you but that's what could be happening there. US dollar CAD. Well, same old really. Higher lows here, pushing through consolidation around where it is at these highs. Very mixed yesterday. I had a wedge drawn on here. Now I don't trust wedges. It broke the top, it broke the bottom, it went back and broke the top. Real mess sitting here at the moment. The Canadian dollar can get a bit like this. Currently strengthening against the US dollar here at the moment. US dollar softening back a little as we're looking through the morning, but all things can change as we get going again. But maybe the US dollars had too much of a good time. New Zealand dollar, you know what I'm going to say, consolidating but bouncing. Same-ish picture as the Aussie dollar there. Not a lot, much more to mention. The Swissy, well on its sort of cruise to the upside here. I expected more and more the pound going up against the Swissy. High lows going through there. We have got some data coming out this morning on it, which might affect it, but to me that the overall trend should be to the upside, which we're seeing pretty much there, but no trades. My usual suspects, euro yen, it's still consolidated around these highs. Looks like it might yet, well, if it can ever break out. It's been the whole week it's been spending on this tight old range here, very tight old range. So it's sitting in a channel. Now we've had a couple of fake outs of the channel, but looks like over during the Asian session there, certainly yesterday morning we saw a break to the low side of it, but it's all a bit of a mess at the moment. Sideward mess. It'd be nice to get some more trend out of this. Now one thing I would say is because the way it's been running down here, then it's normally when you get the consolidation around the bottom, you get a continuation to the bottom. This has had a bounce and is consolidating. So yeah, maybe we'll get moved to the upside. KDAD, which moving averages do I use? I've only got the 34 and 50 on here. I don't use so many moving averages these days. Sometimes I use them on the lower time frame, but generally I have so much on the monitor on the charts. If I'm not careful, I've got too much, and these are just for me, for the time frames I'm trading in and my style of trading, they're perfect. So really, just as I say, just looking at the 34 and the 50, both simple moving averages. But you can use smaller moving averages depending on the strategy you're using, of course. But my strategies don't really. They use the 34 just for on one strategy where I just want a sort of bullish stroke bearish indicator. Whether it's bullish or bearish above the 34, it's deemed as bullish. Below it, it's bearish. But that's just as I say, part of a whole strategy there. Okay, I'm not going to run through the rest of these markets. Euro CAD I will talk about briefly. Was looking at this yesterday for the sell-off. As I said yesterday, if it continues to push up, and there it did at 8 o'clock, instead of rolling over, it was looking quite nice with its flag pattern. It's gone the other way, and it went the other way quite solidly. Then broke my my strategy limits for a flag. It did eventually in the afternoon come off there, break down, but it's in a bit of a mess at the moment. It's sitting around its quarterly pivot here, so that quarterly pivot's just been providing it a bit of support. We'll see what happens here with the euro this morning. The euro just looks a little tad on the softer side against a lot of markets, but we've got a lot of speakers coming out, so we've got to tread carefully. Right, okay, that's the Forex side of things. Quick look at gold. I know you're going to say gold is a Forex as well, but gold is a weird one at the moment. It has continued to roll over. I was expecting more of a positive movement. I was looking for a break of the highs to be on the long side, but it's just not. So this original pattern, these lower highs on the bigger picture, still pointing southbound. So really just still looking soft. Okay, that's gold. A quick look at oil. So oil again yesterday positive. It's a bit of a mixed bag during the day. There we go. We're seeing these shoves 2 o'clock on Tuesday there. Yesterday 2 o'clock it started going, pulled back, but then got going again. Western Texas tends to have better moves at that time, which obviously has a knock-on effect to the Brent crude. So they're both moving pretty similar in their patterns. Still looking relatively bullish, but not in the best of places for me. I just think they're close to what could be tops. Now, should I be not buying them because they're close to not being tops? They're not so interesting for me. I'd rather wait for a retrace and get some value out of buying them. Right, that's that. Equity markets, just looking at S&Ps first briefly. S&Ps still coming off here. We're seeing this rollover on the equity markets. There are more and more sort of negative vibes coming through for the equity markets, and it's starting to reflect into the markets themselves. Looking more on the bearish side there with the Dow. The Nasdaq holding up that bit better at the moment. It's sitting on its monthly pivot as I'm talking here, but again breakdown below that looks above my 50-34 as well. Whilst it's above there, its steam's still sort of bullish, but when you look at what's happening elsewhere, with the S&Ps rolling over and looking soft at this stage. German market, quick look at the DAX. DAX selling off here, still solidly selling. But look at the spikiness we're seeing in these bars here. So it's not making it easy for traders. Yesterday sold off in the morning there initially, came back, bounced again, sold off, rallied. But with the overall trend, it's more probably of a swing trade looking at the DAX at the moment, as opposed to anything else. On opportunities, if you can get into an opportunity on a retrace and a good sell point, look for value. It's certainly drifting off southbound at the moment, and the German economy is not looking great, so that might a lot of the data has been pretty poor. That might fuel the downward movement further. Finally, the FTSE here just running through, coming off at the moment, not looking any better than anything else. Yesterday it did centralize itself a little bit, got better in the morning, then started shifting up there, only to give it right the way back at the moment, and it certainly looks soft as we go to print here. The market's just opened and off it's selling some more, so there we go. Right, okay, I wish you a great day's trading. That's me done for the YouTube stream here. I'll catch you later. Bye for now.